Gents, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing okay. In today's video, I wanted to discuss the importance of entering the unknown. Look, the reality is that in order to become a new man, in order to have a different life, in order to have different things in your life, you must do different things. You must go to new places. You must try new activities, new hobbies, new ventures. You know, it's no good being one of these guys who talks about change. We can all talk about change. We can all talk about the things that we have, the things that we don't have, the things that we want, the things that we want to change. But after a while, it becomes this repetitive ritual of just talking. And look, we're early into 2026. There's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of opportunity. And be honest with yourself, if you are one of those guys who previously has been guilty of talking too much, previously has been guilty of complaining about the problems in his life and not changing them, then maybe this is an opportunity to stop that. And to give yourself a little shake and to just make this the year that you try new things. You know, it doesn't always have to be hustle, hustle, hustle to get good results. Sometimes it can just be leaving the dead-end job that you know you need to leave, that you know realistically is not going to serve you that well in the immediate or indeed the long-term future. And then move to something that, yes, is maybe a little bit risky, yes, is maybe a little bit different, but something that you actually may enjoy, something that may actually be something that can give you a little bit of a kick when you wake up in the morning. Because the alternative is just stagnancy. The alternative is leaving 2026 the same way you left 2025. And look, hustle and hard work is incredibly important. You're not going to find me on this channel, you know, ever telling you otherwise. But sometimes we become so fixated on the hustle, on the work, on the action. And we forget that sometimes all you need to do is just switch it up a little bit. You know, maybe one small change within your week completely changes your life and how you feel about your week. Going to a boxing class one time a week can maybe change the entire perception of the week. You know, you feel like you're getting better at something. You feel like you're growing. Maybe you are really good at your job, but it just doesn't fulfill you. Well, maybe there's something that you need to do on the side. Maybe you need to start taking up a new language. Maybe you need to start learning the guitar. Maybe you need to go to that dancing class that you've been thinking about for such a long time. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. It's whatever you desire. It's whatever is missing within your life. But sometimes you have to just enter the unknown. You know, for you guys that follow the biblical scripture, you know, God expresses very often how you need to stop remaining in this stagnant, comfortable position. And you need to go out there and explore the world. There's so much territory. There's so many different places. Enter into the unknown. That is where the best growth happens. But if you get into this mindset whereby, you know, you're just talking about change, you're just talking about growth and wanting new things, ultimately nothing changes. Ultimately, you're the same guy tomorrow than you are today. And a lot of guys, as I mentioned on this channel, a lot of guys will do that for too long. And some guys will leave it too late. So challenge yourself this year to step out of your comfort zone. Ideally, this month, to step out of your comfort zone. Try something new. Go to a new class. You know, if you're terrible with approaching girls, go and approach 5 girls this month. You know, if that's too big for you, go and approach 1. Try it, you know. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you keep, you know, convincing yourself that your life's going to suddenly get better by doing nothing, then you're insane. And you're causing yourself pain. Sometimes all we need is just to switch things up a little bit. Maybe you are working really, really hard. Maybe more hustle isn't the answer for you. There'll be some guys that watch this video right now that are insanely hard workers. And you guys give yourself a pat on the back. But don't fall into the trap of building a routine and a lifestyle that is just boring, unfulfilling, and repetitive. Because no matter how good your KPIs are, or how good your targets are, or how close to hitting your targets you are, rather, you know, if it doesn't get you going and that's not something that excites you, that is not going to give you that fulfillment that maybe just doing something slightly wacky is. Slightly weird, slightly wacky, slightly goofy. I don't know, I don't care. It doesn't have to be this conventional masculine thing all the time. You know, a lot of guys come on this space and all they talk about is, you know, a man does this and a man does that. And look, it's the titles of some of my videos. We definitely have those conversations. But it's not all about, you know, high testosterone and high ROI activities all the time. And it's not all about, you know, eating gravel and apply this topic to your body, or this topical cream to your body to improve your test. You know, we don't need to always fixate on these traditionally macho man things, right? Because sometimes all guys need to change how they feel about themselves is just something fun, something that they enjoy, something that they maybe didn't think they'd ever be into, or they didn't think they'd ever give it a go, but after they did, they're never going to look back. So look, put yourself in a different place. You know, put yourself in environments that are maybe slightly uncomfortable, but environments that are going to make you grow. If you're a shit networker, get yourself to a networking event. Force yourself to go up to somebody and shake their hand and tell them what you do. The same with relationships, you know. If you're terrible with women and you don't feel confident speaking to girls, well, look, the best way to do that is to go and speak to some girls. So make it a challenge. How many girls can I approach in a non-creepy way today? Okay? And just see how you get on. And look, if you're finding that, you know, you're just working, and when you finish work, you're just fed up and you have nothing to be excited for, and, you know, you have nothing on at the weekends, well, start to change that. Start to plan fun and spontaneous things. You know, us guys sometimes, if we're really honest, we can't be asked. You know, we get to the end of the day and you just think the last thing I want to do is do this particular thing. But if we're also honest with ourselves, we know that when it's done, we're going to be grateful that we did it. So get yourself to the class. Get yourself to the club. Get yourself to the language learning session, you know. Get yourself to arts and crafts school. I don't care what it is. And this isn't a targeted video in that I want a specific type of guy to listen to it. You know, this is just for guys that are struggling right now because they feel bored and they feel empty. You know, maybe it's not more hustle that you need. Maybe you just need to do something fun. Maybe you just need to do something that you enjoy a little bit. Something that fires you up. Maybe something that you can even grow in. Because growth and progression is really something that leads to fulfillment and happiness. You know, because when you're still and you're stagnant, you're never really happy. But when you're progressing and you have momentum and you're growing, you know, you feel proud. So do something different. Do something that makes you feel proud. Even if somebody goes, oh, that's a bit weird. Well, okay, what are you doing? Well, I play Pokemon. Okay, great, carry on. I'm going to do me. You know? And this is another thing, the final point I'll make. Just on that example alone. You got to almost stop caring about what other people think of you and the things that you do. Because ultimately there's a couple of things. You know, people can take the piss, people can laugh, people can mock, you know. Of course, part of life. But ultimately, if you ever become truly good at the thing that you're starting, the thing that you're trying to do, they won't be doing those things. And secondly, normally it's just a projection that actually there's a little bit of envy there. They wish they could do what you're doing. They outwardly project the opposite, say, oh, look at him doing this silly thing, but, you know, they're empty, they're miserable. They want to change their lives, they want to do something different. But in order to protect that image and protect that secret within them, they will go for the attack of somebody else and try and shut down their dreams. So, you know, don't be living your life in a different way just because you are fearful of judgment from others. Because if it works, they're going to be clapping for you at some point or another. And ultimately, it's just more about them than it is about you. It's more about them than it is about you. So crack on. Action within the next month. Try something different. It's going to change your life. It's going to change how you feel at the end of every day, week, month, and definitely year. We're going to end 2026, guys, better than we ended 2025. Look, if you took some value from this video today, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel for much more from me. If you're already subscribed, be sure to share the channel with a friend. It's referrals like that that help us to grow. Anyway, guys, comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.